Hey, this is the national treasure, Nick Aldis, and you're listening to the All Night Long Wrestling Podcast.
Welcome back to another edition of the All Night Long Wrestling Podcast. We are your hosts. I'm out of breath. I've just finished working out. A lot of caffeine in the old ticker. He is the Stallion. I'm the Enforcer. And we are back with yet another edition. I said it already, but I'm going to say it again. The All Night Long Wrestling Podcast, man. Joe, I, for you, have watched NXT in full, and I have watched AEW in full. And because I'm a glutton for punishment, I watched Raw in full. But we're not going to talk about Raw, Joe, are we?
No, we're not, Mike. It's what do you call this? Is the slop shop or something? Is that what
this is actually now it's Friday, but this is the Friday mornings, the slop shop, baby. Is that? Oh, I get it. I get what you're saying here because WWE runs a sloppy shop.
I wasn't gonna go there, but you know what? Let's run with it. So
such a good line.
Yeah. So this week, the last week or two, the shows have been on a little bit of a wonky schedule because of some playoff basketball and hockey.
We don't have to worry about that anymore. So everything's going to be right back on track for Wednesdays. That's good.
Actually, next week, I believe AEW is on Wednesday night, but NXT is going to be on Tuesday. I believe it's Super Tuesday.
Just to that point, I don't know if you heard, the NHL canceled all their playoff games. Did you hear that?
All their playoff games?
All of the playoff games for the rest of the season, this late last night, were canceled. The NHL season is over.
Oh, I did not know that. I only knew they were canceled yesterday and today. So,
yeah. Side note, we're not a hockey podcast, but imagine how mad you'd be if you were an Islanders fan.
Oh my God, yeah. That's
the team has literally been nuts for 30, 40 years. And it's like, oh man, they're winning all these games. We're on the road to the Stanley Cup.
That is quite brutal. Well, I guess we'll move on to that, I guess.
I guess the main crux is if there's no hockey playoffs, that's why NXT was going to be Super Tuesday next week, right?
Yeah, that's but I don't know if they're going to change that or not. I don't know if they're gonna do that, but I guess we'll see. So this week, yesterday was Thursday. Dynamite was on Thursday night. NXT was on Wednesday night. Schedule's a little bit off. NXT ran unopposed on Wednesday. So, do you have a preference on which show that we start our review on as we go through our grades and figure out who won the week?
I just finished Dynamite, so let's go to NXT because Dynamite is very fresh and it's going to stay there and NXT is not. So I'm going to need you to walk me through that, and that'll be tougher for me. So let's start with NXT Wednesday night, the post show from TakeOver 30. And Joe, what a wild episode of NXT. Where did we start? What's going on?
Well, a lot of big news coming out of this NXT show, I think. The show started with Carrion Cross. So I get actually real quick before that. So Wade Barrett is on commentary for this show. No Mauro Ranallo. It's Vic Joseph, Beth Phoenix, and Wade Barrett. Wade Barrett, I don't know if he's on loan from the NWA or whatever's going on, but he's doing commentary this week. So the show opens with Carrion Cross, who's the new NXT champion, having won it off of Keith Lee from TakeOver 30 this past weekend. And he has a separated shoulder. The doctors will not allow him to compete anytime soon. So he has to immediately relinquish the NXT championship. So after beating Keith Lee, who is now on the main roster, Carrion Cross is now injured for an indefinite period of time. And we have no NXT champion.
You know, what you said at the top of the hour, real quick. I know Mauro Ranallo wasn't there. Is that permanent? Do we know why he missed it? Did he have another prior commitment?
The only thing that I read on the internet was that he had a family situation that he had to go back to Canada for. Okay. And that is why he missed TakeOver 30 and why he was not on NXT this week. I don't know the specifics behind that or when he might be back, but that was all that I read.
Gotcha. And do you think Vince even noticed that Wade Barrett wasn't Nigel McGuinness?
Probably not. I don't even know if Vince watches this show, but probably not. But Wade had been doing commentary or Stu Bennett had been doing commentary for NWA Power, which we'll talk about a little bit more later on when we get to AEW. But so he did NXT this week. He's supposed to also do it next week. Beyond that, I don't know.
So let's, I guess my question is, do you think Keith Lee getting called up was like a last minute gut reaction? Or do you think they knew kind of all along, all right, he's going to be a transitional champion. He's going to, just get the title over to Carrion Cross, and that's going to be it. Do you think that hurt him? I
think my guess is that was planned for him to come up after SummerSlam, and they used it as a, we talked about it in the past of doing the double champion thing, try to maybe get a ratings ploy, and they wanted to transition it from Cole, who was a heel, over to Carrion Cross, who was also a heel. So they put it on Keith Lee. That's my gut reaction to it, and that Keith Lee, I think. We've been saying, a lot of people have been saying for a while, he probably deserves to be on the main roster. So they probably just planned that all out because they had that graphic ready, like pretty much, the next day after he lost. Like, oh, by the way, Keith Lee's coming to Raw. So I think that was the plan, and they were probably going to run with Cross as champion for a little while. But unfortunately, that's no longer the case. So.
Yeah, I mean, it sucks for Carrion Cross. I don't think it hurts him really at all. He'll come back and he'll do the same thing. He'll get as over as he was because he's got Scarlet and he's got the cool entrance. And it really opens the door for the ridiculousness that we found out later in the show is going to be next week. But we can continue.
So after that, the first match on the show is the NXT Tag Team Championships. It's Imperium of Fabian Eichner and Marcel Barthel versus Breezango. Breezango won a number one contenders match on the pre-show from TakeOver 30. So this match went a little while. I think there was maybe 2 commercial breaks in the middle of it. And, at the end of it, I thought the match was very good. Breezango ended up winning the NXT Tag Team Championships. Now, in this match, they acted and presented themselves as a more serious wrestling tag team act as opposed to, like the comedy that we're used to seeing them do. That's generally the issue that I have with them overall. I don't have any issue with them in the ring. I think they're entertaining, but they're not, I never really took them seriously as a contender to tag team titles. So they had a more serious edge to them in this match. That the match was very good. I'm a big fan of Imperium. Breezango ends up winning the tag team titles in NXT.
I like Imperium, but I feel like once Walter was not able to head said stable due to the COVID-19, that they lost a little bit of luster. They're not the most charismatic guys, but they are outstanding in the ring, and I feel like they didn't get the shot they deserve. But you can't. I don't know. I like Breezango. I know they've been together for quite some time, but I don't know. Didn't they just lose to Imperium like 2 weeks ago or 3 weeks ago?
I'm not sure. I'd have to go back and check that out. But I mean, I know they had not, they weren't necessarily on like a long winning streak. Let's put it that way. They were kind of a part of the show. I know they were feuding with Phantasma and his guys for a little bit. So they've been kind of in the mix here and there on different things, but they earned their title shot. They won it here. I mean, I like those guys. I mean, individually. So, I mean, as a team as well, I love both of them. So, I mean, I guess good on them that they won the titles. I mean, they're not the strongest team to me to have the championships. One thing I was wondering, though, was with NXT UK starting up again in September, do we think that maybe they just had Imperium, drop the titles and they're going to send them back over to the UK and work over there some more since they probably can't travel back and forth a lot?
Can you fly from here to the UK? Is that allowed?
I don't know. So I mean, I'm not even sure. I just was wondering that. That's why I was wondering out loud if they were, potentially they were an interim tag team because, Riddle and Dunn had their situation that didn't really work out. With Riddle ended up going to the main roster. Dunn was, stuck overseas, couldn't come back. So I don't know. Yeah, I don't know if the travel is opened up where they can go there or not. I was just kind of wondering if they were going to get used on NXT UK. That was my thought.
Side note to what I said before, I'm reading 2 reports right now. One says they have canceled NHL games through Tuesday. One says they've canceled NHL games through Sunday. I think they really don't know. So it looks like Super Tuesday next week will still be on. So you were right about that. Secondly, you were watching NXT UK. You're up to date on that show?
I mean, yeah, I was up until until they started doing the all the live wrestling. Yes, I was up to date.
Were they a big part of the show Imperium? Were they like a main? Were they
yeah, I mean, I think they were the main heel stable there with them and Gallus, I guess. And they had that match on Worlds Collide, I want to say, with Undisputed Era, and they ended up winning that. I think Walter ended up winning that match. So they were. I think they were trying to get them over. They were building towards, at the time, right, Walter and Finn Balor.
Oh yeah, I totally forgot about that.
Because they were going to do a takeover in Dublin. I believe that was the direction, but that of course was postponed. So yeah. So I don't know if that's the case. I don't with the travel and stuff. I just was wondering if maybe they were also ended up being transitional champions, because of the situations that happened, and now they kind of put the titles on Breezango because A, they've been around a while. And B, the tag teams in NXT are,
who are? My next question to you is, what are the tag teams in NXT?
Yeah, it's a little bit thinner than it used to be. So, and with the travel restrictions, that limits things. Like, Mustache Mountain can't be there. I don't know. So, they put it on Breezango. We'll see what they do from here. Maybe they have an idea of where they're going to go after this. They're still feuding with the Phantasma gang. Which they ended up having a brawl with them later in the show. So
that would be my money for late stage booking would be the end game of those guys having the tag titles and the cruiserweight title. I would be totally cool with that.
Yeah. So a couple of quick hitters here. We have Damien Priest backstage.
Oh,
he gets challenged by Timothy Thatcher.
Yay!
For the North American title. Nothing was officially announced after that, but they just they had an interaction. Then we had the return
sorry to interrupt you. One word, what is Damien Priest's character? Go.
I think he's kind of like a cool, rock star type character. That's my interpretation of him, right? He hangs out in the hot tub, wears leather pants.
With Brandy Lauren?
Yeah, so that's him, man. So he's a cool cat, as the kids say.
So he's Jericho.
Maybe a little bit.
Yeah, rock star, long hair, almost 40. I'm just saying.
So next, we have the return of Tommaso Champa. Champa had not been on the show for several months for undetermined reasons, but he returns here, faces Jake Atlas, and beats the ever-living pee out of him. In a couple of minutes. Basically, I assume, or the way I took it was that Champa is a heel again. He was very aggressive in the match, ended up beating up Atlas after the match. Atlas was put on a stretcher. Champa gave him a hanging DDT off the stretcher. Champa seemed like he was kind of back to his old self prior to turning babyface. So I thought this was a strong way to introduce Champa back into the show.
Agreed. Love Champa getting over. I don't like the flip-floppery, though. Like if heel, face, heel, face, heel, face. Like him and Johnny made jokes about that. Who's going to turn heel on who? It's like he was literally the biggest baby face that NXT had. And the last thing he was doing was defending the entire brand against Randy Orton. And now he comes back as a bad guy. So I don't even know who the main faces are on the show now, but we'll get there for next week.
So, again, a couple of quick backstage segments. Candice LeRae and Tegan Knox video package was done to kind of build up a budding feud between them. Former friends now starting to be at odds. And then another backstage segment between Bronson Reed and interrupted by Austin Theory returning to NXT from Monday Night Raw.
I like the fact that they're doing anything with Candice that includes somewhat of a storyline, so something makes sense. She's not just going to take the pin in a random bullshit tag match. And 2, wasn't Austin Theory part of the Monday Night Messiah? Was that was a thing?
He was part of Seth Rollins' group last he was seen on television. Yes.
What happened to him?
They didn't really say if he was suspended or anything like that. Seth Rollins said he was dealing with personal issues. Dave Meltzer speculated that it had something to do with the speaking out movement, but he appeared on NXT last night backstage, seemingly setting up something with Bronson Reed. So there you go.
Okay.
Mia Yim was next scheduled to face Mercedes Martinez. Robert Stone came out and put the brakes on that. He was then run over by Shotzi Blackheart and her tank again, and Shotzi Blackheart took the match against Mia Yim. They went a little bit longer than I expected. The match was decent, I thought, and Shotzi Blackheart got the victory.
Yeah, it seems like they're really stop and start on Mia Yim, and they're not going to go with whatever it was, with Keith Lee. So now that Keith Lee's gone from NXT, I wonder if they don't have necessarily a plan for her. I think a couple of weeks ago it was just Johnny Gargano and Candice versus Mia Yim and Keith Lee. There was some sort of tension there, and that's gone. I don't see them really loving Mia Yim, unfortunately. I think I think Shotzi is the shiny new toy, and she drives a tank. But Robert Stone, again, my favorite part of NXT. God bless the Robert Stone brand, buddy. Need those shirts. We gotta talk to him about getting some shirts.
I need that merchandise. So Shotzi wins. Next backstage promo with Dakota Kai and Raquel Gonzalez building up the main event of the show, followed by William Regal making a live in-person announcement of what's to happen for the NXT Championship. So the long and short of it is that next week on the Tuesday edition of NXT, it's going to be a fatal four-way match for the NXT Championship. It will be a 60-minute Iron Man match. So it's going to be Johnny Gargano, Finn Balor, Adam Cole, Tommaso Ciampa for 60 minutes. I assume the way it's going to work is the most falls in those 60 minutes will be the new NXT champion.
There's a fly taking a poop on my microphone, and I wonder if that's like symbolism of how shitty I am at what I do.
You must have tremendous eyesight to see a fly taking a poop. I just want to throw that out.
Dude, it's like really, it's very wild. I've never seen a fly this close. It's so just aggressive before. Like I was saying before, I don't understand who's like a big face on NXT. Finn Balor, I guess, is their biggest face, right?
Yeah, it was probably Keith Lee, and now he's gone. Finn Balor was probably one of their bigger baby faces. Damian Priest is a baby face. I don't know.
Nope, he's not. Nope. He's the Archer of Infamy. He's a vampire, Joe. Oh, and what's his name? The murderer. What's his name? Dexter Lumis.
Well, he's not on the show right now, so
that's true.
Yeah.
But what do you think about a 4-person 60-minute Iron Man match?
I think it's different. I'm a big, listen, I'm a big mark for Iron Man matches, so I won't complain about that. I can't imagine those guys having a bad match. The only thing with Iron Man matches that I worry about sometimes is at least I used to worry about was like the number of pinfalls. I feel like if there's too many, sometimes it could get a little bit, overdone and less realistic, right? Like guys might wrestle 20, 30 minutes without getting a pinfall in a regular match. But then sometimes you see this stuff in Iron Man matches where guys are getting pinned 5 or 10 minutes in.
With a roll-up in 90 seconds, yeah.
Yeah, so I guess it'll depend on how they book it, but I can't imagine that those guys are going to have a bad match. It should be pretty good. I'm sure there's going to be a ton of commercial breaks in between, which is unfortunate. But, I think it should be good. It's going to take up most of the show because it's going to go with entrances, it's going to be probably like an hour and 15 minutes.
So. It might be the whole show. The way they do things, who knows? Yeah. You have 4 amazing wrestlers. It's something different. I'll give them kudos for that. But I feel like it's kind of Triple H being like, oh, you want wrestling, pal? Here we go. Here's wrestling. Here's 4 guys in 60 minutes in an Iron Man match. I don't want to say it's a little much, but a 4-person 60-minute Iron Man match, sometimes they have trouble with like a triple threat match with the formulaic one guy on the outside kind of thing. The only thing I think they could do would be make this a Falls Count Anywhere match. I think that could add a little bit of a splice to it. So this way you don't have to have that 2 guys on the outs, 2 guys on the inside, 1 guy on the outside. I think they could fight all over the arena. I think that would be something interesting, but I guess we'll see how it goes.
Yep. So that's the plan for next week. It'll take up most of the show. Next is the Cruiserweight Championship match. It is Santos Escobar versus Isaiah Swerve Scott. And again, Swerve Scott's been part of the feud with Phantasma's group here. along with Breezango and a few others. So again, I thought this match was pretty decent. There was some interference. Escobar's guys came in the middle of the match. They were fought off by Breezango. They had a brawl kind of in the middle of the match, and the finish was Escobar put on his mask, or a mask, from the El Hijo del Fantasma days and headbutted Swerve Scott. So I guess I'm to believe that there was some sort of a foreign object in the mask, and then ended up pinning Scott after that. So
it was sticking out, the foreign object was, but nobody on commentary said anything.
Yeah, they didn't mention that. That was unfortunate.
I just watched the Masked Superstar headbutt Ricky the Dragon Steamboat with a loaded mask or Mr. Wrestling 2, I'm sorry, Halloween Havoc 93 against Paul Orndorff, and they didn't miss it on commentary then. Just saying.
Well, so Escobar retains the title there, and I think that's probably the right call, even though I like Swerve Scott. I think it's probably too soon for Escobar to start losing. So
agreed, yeah.
A couple of backstage just promos from Johnny Gargano and Finn Balor building up the title match for next week, followed by a singles match for Kyle O'Reilly against Drake Maverick. Drake Maverick called out any member of the Undisputed Era after they interrupted his match, I think a week or two ago, against Killian Dane. They Undisputed Era just attacked everybody. So Kyle O'Reilly answered the challenge here. It was a singles match. He had Rod and Bob on the outside, watching his back. Again, I thought the match was good. O'Reilly looked like he was in, I don't know if he got bulked up or whatever. I mean, that's just me, but
good.
Looked like he was in good shape. Glad to see him back and wrestling in the U.S. here. And O'Reilly ended up getting the win with a heel hook, I want to say. Submission. So Drake tapped out. After the match was over, Roddy and Fish went to do a beatdown on Drake Maverick. KO seemed to be a little hesitant on that. He was kind of trying to, tell him to stop or hold off on it. But eventually they were interrupted by Killian Dane, who took care of the Undisputed Era after that. Drake Maverick thought that Killian Dane was there to help him. And then, of course, Killian Dane just knocked him on his rear end after that. So there you go.
Couple things. Love Kyle O'Reilly. He's my top 5 dead or alive, one of my favorite tag teams. Anytime I get to see him wrestle, it's a good night. He's smooth in the ring. He is great in the ring. Love Kyle. Love seeing Kyle get a win. Secondly, I hope they're not splitting up the Undisputed Era, buddy. I don't want to see that. I'm not ready for that. I don't want that to happen ever. Thirdly, Killian Dane, wasn't he just part of the Robert Stone brand like 2 weeks ago for a cup of coffee? Or he had something with Robert Stone where he got him a match? What's going on?
I think Robert Stone accidentally threw coffee on Killian Dane. I believe that was how something like that happened, I believe.
I don't even remember that. I remember had him outside and he's like, oh, you get me a match next week and I might, whatever. Killian Dane, I mean, poor Drake Maverick. But at least they're doing something with him. That's all I got.
Yeah. So the main event of the show, there was a backstage promo with Rhea Ripley and then a backstage promo from Adam Cole to build up the title match next week. But the main event here is Io Shirai and Rhea Ripley versus Dakota Kai and Raquel Gonzalez. Right. So Io Shirai just beat Dakota Kai over the weekend at TakeOver 30 to retain the NXT Women's Championship. They had this match here, so there's a lot going on. At one point, they did a hot tag to Rhea Ripley. The referee, they did the old referee didn't see the tag gimmick. So they kept going with the beatdown on Io Shirai. At that point, Mercedes Martinez, who I guess allegedly was not supposed to, based on Robert Stone's information, was not there, came out, pulled Rhea Ripley off the apron to kind of take Ripley out of the match a little bit. But eventually Ripley would get back on the apron, would get the tag from Io Shirai, would kind of stumble into the ring, and then eat what I believe was a one-arm powerbomb from Raquel Gonzalez and was pinned by Raquel Gonzalez. So Dakota Kai and Raquel Gonzalez get the win. Raquel Gonzalez pinning Rhea Ripley. So it seems like they're maybe doing, I'm not really sure exactly if they're doing 2 separate feuds with Rhea Ripley or with one with Raquel Gonzalez and then one with Mercedes Martinez. But big win for Raquel Gonzalez here on the main event of NXT.
That's weird because a couple of months ago, I remember Mark Henry saying Rhea Ripley is a generational talent that could transcend the business like The Rock and Stone Cold Steve Austin. It's a direct quote from Mark Henry. Whatever. Rhea Ripley, 50-50 all the way through, had a bunch of momentum behind her, lost the belt didn't she not take the pin when she lost the title. Am I correct in that? There was a figure 4 spot. No, I'm sorry. Charlotte. She took the pin. Charlotte did not take the pin, and she's been on a kind of a downslope ever since. So poor Rhea Ripley. Good for Mercedes Martinez though, right in that main event picture. So good for her. Just weird 50-50-ish on everything else.
What was your overall grade for the show, buddy?
B-. What about you?
I went B. I thought this was not a bad show. Some important stuff happened. Some good matches. So I went with a B.
That's fair.
So that is the 826 episode of NXT. We now have the 827 Thursday Night Dynamite episode. Couple of quick things here. Obviously, I said Thursday night. JR, Tony Schiavone, and Chris Jericho on commentary. So no Taz this week, and still no Excalibur. And they had some fans in the show. 10% capacity at Daly's Place in Jacksonville. The fans were noticeable during the course of the show, at least certainly early on. So, good on them. I guess hopefully everybody was safe. I'm sure that I know they said they took protocols, people wearing masks and everything. So good on them for that. It definitely added a little bit of an element to the show, and hopefully they can keep doing it.
Yep.
Starting the night is the tag team gauntlet match. So the way this is working is the top 4 contending teams to the tag team championship are facing each other in reverse order. So the number 4 team of the Natural Nightmares, I guess. It's freaking Nightmare people, dude. It's really just, there's so many names. The Nightmare Sisters, the Natural Nightmares, the Nightmare Family. Like, what's American Nightmare? It's a lot to handle here. The Natural Nightmares of Dustin Rhodes and QT Marshall versus the Young Bucks was the first match. So number 4 versus number 3. Decent little match here, not too long, maybe 6 or 7 minutes. I thought it was fine. It was well worked. The Young Bucks get the win. Pretty straightforward. They used a BTE trigger, as what it was called. I
like that move, by the way. I don't know. I thought it was very clean. I think it's better than the what's the Kenny Omega and Kota Ibushi finisher?
And Kota Ibushi?
Yeah.
I don't know what Kenny Omega and Kota Ibushi's finisher is. I know Kenny Omega and Hangman Page's finisher is the last.
No. When Kenny and Kota were a tag team, they had that finisher with the double knees, and I just wanted to say that I like the Young Bucks finisher of the double knees better because I think it lands more cleanly. That's all.
They ended up then winning that and immediately had to face the number 2 contending Best Friends. So this match was a little bit longer. They went on for maybe 15 or so minutes, I'm going to say. I don't have the exact times in front of me. They were having a good match. They got towards the end. There were some false finishes. But I guess the main development here was the fact that as the Bucks were about to go for a Meltzer driver of some sort, or Indie Taker, probably one of the two, Hangman Page appeared and held Nick Jackson's leg so that he could not perform the move. And Trent Beretta rolled up Matt and got the pin. And at this point in time, there wasn't much explanation for what Page did. He looked like he was kind of torn up about it and just kind of walked off. Yeah, forlorn. That's a good word. And walked up out through the crowd.
They did a cool little spotlight on him as he walked through the empty stands. I thought that was a nice touch. Like a cowboy into the night, Joe.
Like a cowboy into the night. So that would get explained later on. Best Friends would then go on to face the number 1 contending FTR with Tully Blanchard. They just attacked right away at the bell, worked on Chuck Taylor's knee, and pretty much took them out pretty quickly, almost in squash-like fashion in a few minutes to become the number 1 contenders to the AEW Tag Team Championships. So FTR will face Kenny Omega and Hangman Page at All Out on September the 5th.
I thought the finish was a little bit underwhelming, but I thought it was good because there was a thread. Chuck Taylor hurt his knee early. FTR with the mind of Tully Blanchard. They saw that when they came in 4th in the match, focused on it, took it apart, tapped him out in under 5 minutes. Wouldn't have made sense to have FTR go 10, 15 minutes with a team that already wrestled twice. I thought it was fine for what it was, and I love FTR with good momentum going into the pay-per-view.
Yeah, I felt it accomplished what it needed to accomplish and had a nice storyline twist there with Hangman. So we'll follow up on that a little bit later on in the show. Next was a backstage vignette. A vignette for Darby Allin jumping off a bridge. So that was pretty different. Followed by the announcement of the Casino Battle Royal for All Out. So there's going to be 21 entrants into the Casino Battle Royal. It started with the announcement of Darby Allin and I believe, let's see, who else was in it? Allen and Lance Archer were announced immediately for it. So it's going to be 21 competitors, and the winner gets a AEW world title shot after All Out.
Cool.
Following up on that, then we have Lance Archer in a squash match over former Evolve talent Sean Maluta of the
Unwanted.
Yeah, exactly. Archer wins pretty quickly. Just the usual stuff from him: the blackout, the EBD claw. After the match,
he destroyed somebody in the front row, which I really enjoyed when he was walking by.
Always enjoy Lance Archer beating up the young.
Everybody dies, Joe.
Post-match, we had a promo from Jake Roberts, which was interrupted by Team Taz, who then announced that Team Taz, Brian Cage, and Ricky Starks would be in the Casino Battle Royal at All Out, at which point Darby Allin ran out and attacked Ricky Starks. I should mention that the Darby Allin vignette was focused on him now seemingly feuding with Ricky Starks. So he ran out and attacked Ricky Starks. They all had a little bit of a brawl, and it was just more entrants announced for the Casino Battle Royal.
I like the dynamic of Taz and Jake the Snake Roberts. I never thought of Lance Archer and Brian Cage going at it, but I'm mildly intrigued, and it gives them something to do. So good for them.
Agreed. Next, they did what I thought was a cool video package on the AEW Women's Championship match for All Out. It's Hikaru Shida and Thunder Rosa from the NWA. The cool parts about this to me, I thought that was well put together, the vignette to kind of build it up and tell the fans a little bit more about Thunder Rosa. But they actually used footage from the NWA, and they had audio quotes from Billy Corgan. So he intimated, he indicated, I guess, in those quotes that he was, he was excited to have a working partnership a little bit with AEW. I don't know if this is going to be a one-off thing or not, but I thought that was just interesting that they loaned them some footage and that they're allowing Thunder Rosa to have this match. So I'm
awesome.
Yeah. I'm interested to see who wins that match next week. But I think it's pretty cool that they're building it up that way. So I like that a lot.
Holy shit! Who knew you could acknowledge another promotion?
Right? Yeah.
Right? Tells a great story. I'm all in.
People working together.
Help people.
So next was the MJF and Jon Moxley contract signing for the AEW World Title match at All Out. So the big point of this promo was that MJF was trying to get the paradigm shift banned for the match at All Out. So they did a back and forth promo. They insulted each other pretty good a few times. I thought it was very entertaining. Both of these guys are very good, I think, at their promos. Moxley signed the contract. MJF and his lawyer celebrated by saying, he just made the worst move of his life by, allowing to taking the match without being able to use the paradigm shift. But Moxley had added in a extra page, a 17th page on the contract that indicated that next week on Dynamite, he gets to face MJF's lawyer. And if the lawyer does not show up and have the match with Jon Moxley, then MJF does not get his title shot at All Out.
Smart Mark Sterling. Love that guy. Thought this segment was hilarious. He made fun of, he alluded to Jon Moxley's hair. Jon Moxley alluded to MJF not hitting puberty. And then MJF made fun of Renee Young. So all in all, great stuff. Really entertaining segment. And I love the fact that it did not end with somebody going through a fucking table, Joe. That was the best part about the segment.
And I think Moxley even pointed that out. So I thought it was very entertaining. The only thing I could say is I'm sure that MJF's lawyer is a pro wrestler that's just kind of,
it's Smart Mark Sterling.
Okay.
That's it. Yeah. He's a guy from Creative Pro, and I think he trains with NYWC.
Okay. So maybe he's a guy that Ryder knows or something, or Cardona knows or whatever. But I'm not necessarily looking forward to Moxley versus a lawyer next week, but we'll see if they can make something entertaining out of it. So I'll give them the benefit of the doubt and see what happens next week. Next up, we have an 8-man tag team match. It's now Eddie Kingston's group of the Lucha Bros, Butcher and the Blade, versus Sonny Kiss, Joey Janela, Brian Pillman Jr., and I can't remember the guy's first name, but his last name is Garrison. Kind of looks
Griff
like
Garrison, buddy.
Griff Garrison. Kind of looks like Jungle Boy, but he's not Jungle Boy.
Yep.
So this was basically just, I guess, a way to introduce the Lucha Bros and Butcher and Blade as a cohesive unit, and they ended up winning this match, Pentagon pinning Brian Pillman Jr. After the match, Eddie Kingston cut a promo saying that all 5 of them, himself included, would be now in the Casino Battle Royal at All Out.
Yeah. Anything with Eddie Kingston, I'm in for. So I'm cool with it.
And the one thing I guess that I thought about just as this is now happening with Eddie Kingston forming a group with these guys is I don't know what's going to happen, if anything, when Pac comes back to AEW. He was aligned with the Lucha Bros at one point before.
Death Triangle, I believe, right?
Yes. So I wonder if that will be revisited at some point in the future whenever Pac returns to AEW. So next up was a big promo from the Dark Order. Most of the Dark Order comes out sans Brody Lee with a casket filled with what was supposed to be, the body of Cody. Ended up being number 10, I believe, was in the casket with a fake Cody tattoo. They had a celebratory, I guess, promo for Brody Lee, who then comes out and he cuts a promo. I'm legit afraid of Brody Lee, by the way. Just putting that out there.
He's a great character, and he talks aggressively and angrily, and I think he's there to murder me, and I think he's doing great at what he does. So I'm all in on Brody Lee. It's definitely a different angle for the Dark Order than we thought in the beginning, but it's really good stuff. I'm enjoying the Dark Order more now than I literally ever have. So
yeah, I think he's been great, Brody Lee. So I have no issues with that. The segment ended with the Natural Nightmares coming in to try to I guess take out the Dark Order. They got beaten down, followed by Scorpio Sky, and then followed by Matt Cardona. So that's going to set up a
War Games match, Joe. War Games.
I think they're doing a tag match at All Out, I believe now. It's going to be like an 8-man tag. So there you go. Now we have some significant storyline development. The Bucks confront Adam Page backstage at the bar, basically tell him that he has a drinking problem. Matt throws a drink in his face and basically tells him that he's out of the Elite. So they started all this stuff back before the pandemic with Page kind of saying he wanted to step away from the Elite. Him and Omega winning the tag titles before the Young Bucks. They beat the Young Bucks earlier in the year in a great tag team match for the titles. They kind of put them on a little bit of a pause for a while as we were going through the pandemic stuff, and maybe now this is the sign that they're picking the storyline back up. So Adam Page didn't really retaliate against them, didn't fight anything like that. He just kind of took the verbal lashing and then the drink to the face. And again, he also then continued to look a little bit forlorn, as you said.
Nice.
So we're not sure, I guess, what happens from here with Page. Page and Omega have to fight FTR at the pay-per-view. Omega was not on the show, so we don't really know how he reacted to all this. So we're gonna have to see how this plays out. But it's definitely an interesting storyline development here for the tag team division.
I'm sucked in. I love all the guys, and I think they're teasing a 4 horsemen of sorts, possibly with Hangman Adam Page being the Barry Windham of the Horsemen with the revivals. So I think it's good stuff, man. I love Hangman. I love the Bucks. I love FTR. I love Tully Blanchard, and it's a slow developing story that has me sucked in, Joe. So kudos to them for really putting some thought into the story.
Agreed. Next up, we have a 3-on-1 handicap match.
You could just get past this.
Big Swole versus Britt Baker, Penelope Ford, and Rebel. My favorite part of this match was Chris Jericho referring to Kip Sabian as George Harrison Jr. That's really all I can tell you. It was sloppy. I didn't like it.
I don't like it either. I don't like Rebel in the ring.
Big Swole pinned Penelope Ford, which I found curious.
Boo!
And Swole now gets a match with Baker at All Out. I guess a match of her choosing. So I generally like Britt Baker. I think she's very entertaining, and she still is, but I'm not a fan of the handicap matches. I thought this match was sloppy. I didn't like Penelope Ford taking the pin. I thought Rebel should take it because she's not really a full-time wrestler. But so many complaints about this match for me. Just before the main event, some of the members of the Dark Order, Evil Uno and Anna Jay, came out to ringside to offer a position in the Dark Order to Tainara Conti, who is at ringside, one of the ringside fans. She seemed to accept it and hugged Anna Jay. So it looks like Tainara Conti may be the newest member of the Dark Order.
Brody Lee is he's a good recruiter. Let me tell you something. If I was the leader of the Dark Order and Tainara Conti was in the audience, she'd be damn sure getting an invitation, Joe.
Join darkorder.com. The main event is a tables match between Matthew Hardy, and Sammy Guevara. So I think anyone who's watched the show has followed this, that they've been having a feud, and Guevara threw a chair in Matt's face and legit busted him open hard way. They've been brawling, going through tables and stuff the last few weeks, so they made this a tables match. It was not that long. I'm not sure if that's a complaint or not, just more of an observation. Sammy was busted open in this match. I don't know, if that was, I assume that was planned, but I don't want to assume anything.
Pretty rough gash.
Yeah, it looked like it was rough. So I'm guessing it was, but maybe not. So anyway, he got busted open here. But Guevara ended up winning the match with a superplex off the top rope through a table. And there was a open chair set up underneath the table. So that seemed like it was a little bit rough. I don't know what at first Matt was climbing the turnbuckle. I thought maybe he had a legitimate knee injury or something like that because he couldn't climb, but then maybe I just felt like they were hooking me in and making it seem like he was kind of stumbling to get up there, and then Sammy Guevara caught him and hit the superplex to win the match. So
could be that, or could be they went to a quote unquote fast finish, because I thought the same thing, actually. Funny that you said that. So
yeah, so I'm not sure. Maybe there was something with the timing or matches went long. I'm not really sure, but that it did feel a little bit quick. But Guevara won, which I think was the right thing if you're going to build up, the younger stars and him coming off his suspension. And then the show closed with a the Flash run from Orange Cassidy across the stage, looked like a blur of a white T-shirt, running across the stage in the background and jumping Chris Jericho at the commentary table. And they had a pretty cool brawl on the stage as the show ended. JR and Tony were displaced from the announce table. Officials are trying to hold them apart. And this builds up the Mimosa Mayhem match at All Out. There you go. Between Jericho and Cassidy. Go ahead.
Sorry, I just want to quickly go back to the Sammy Guevara match. It seems like the blow off for that feud, and believe it or not, I'm okay. Joe, if this fly comes near me again, I'm going to eat it live on camera. I'm okay with them blowing off a smaller feud on a like there should be like feuds that are just for the TV show and feuds that are for the pay-per-view. I don't need to see Guevara and Matt Hardy pay-per-view, so I was okay with that. And then Mimosa Mayhem. I'm sucked in. Orange Cassidy is great, and he took down the signs behind him. And Tony Schiavone going, JR, we got to get the hell out of here. I thought it was a good finish to the show.
Yep, I agree. So that's the end of Dynamite for this week. What did you grade the show, buddy?
Dynamite, I went B flat. Just enjoyed it just a little bit more than I did NXT. I liked that the storylines in Dynamite made sense. The matches were average to above average. There's nothing I didn't like besides the handicap match, but I thought it was a good setup for next week's All Out.
I agree. I also went B on this show, which for me is a tie for the night.
Ooh, a tie. Friday morning at the Slop Shop.
A tie.
So for the Enforcer, that's 2 weeks in a row that AEW gets the Duke. For the Stallion, that's 1 week for AEW, 1 week for a tie. I'm looking forward to Payback this weekend. I am just kidding. I am looking forward to All Out next week. And we will join you with our All Out predictions early next week. Until then, we are your hosts. He is the Stallion. I am the Enforcer. And we are tapping out.
Best friends.